This is day 4 of week 1. We do not have class on Friday. I know you're bummed. So today is our last official day of class. Obviously, the class is still open, it still continues. Just a reminder to try to turn in all of your work by this Sunday for week 1. All right? Does anybody have any questions regarding Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday before we get started on today's session? All right, then. So today we're going to talk about not just what a resume is, but we're going to talk about the key elements that go into a resume and how to strategically use your resume. We all know that a resume is a written document, right? So prior to a company meeting you, interviewing you, they need something that outlines your skill set so they'll know who they're dealing with or who they potentially want to see. So your resume is basically a document that identifies what your qualifications are. And those qualifications include both your work experience and your education. For those of us that are switching careers, or maybe this is our first career, I know people get really anxious about doing a resume because you're like, well, I've never done that work before, so are they even going to look at me? Like, give me a thumbs up if you're kind of, concerned about that. Like, this is my first time being in VA or, electrical or welding. Like, what in the world? Like, what am I going to put on my resume that I've worked at CVS or maybe I've worked in accounting? It has nothing to do with the job. Well, today I'm going to dispel that myth and I'm going to show you exactly what you should be doing on your resume, and hopefully it will make you feel a little better. Because remember, your qualifications are not just experience, but it also includes your education. So even something as simple as putting your education on your resume does bump you up from the next person, because that means that you have had some type of exposure to the work. Even if you've never done the work, you've had exposure. If you think about a doctor, when they go to school, they've never been a doctor before, but the fact that they've gotten that higher education, and higher education is designed to prepare you for a career, people, that does give you a competitive advantage over someone that does not have a degree. I know a lot of times people always debate, oh, is a degree worth it? Is it not worth it? We hear that in the news all the time. And I always tell people, the only people that I personally feel think that degrees aren't important are those that don't have one. Because, I can say with a surety, my degrees have made a difference in my career. So, I mean, obviously, none, most of my careers I couldn't even have if I didn't have a degree. Can you imagine me teaching you and I don't have a degree? That wouldn't even make sense. Um, Although there are people that work, like in train and technical, some of your instructors may not have degrees, but they have 20 years of experience in the trades industries. You can, do some teaching without degrees, but I am on the business bachelor side of it. And so we cannot, like, if you don't even have a master's degree, you can't even get in the door. You can't even get in the door. So degrees make a difference, for most careers, because it prepares you to be in that higher level position. So, in addition to your education, there are other things on other areas on your resume where you can put what your qualifications that companies will look at, to see if you match their criteria. Here is the key, no pun intended. It is imperative that you use the right phrasing when you write your resume. How do you know which phrasing to use? When you look for jobs on job boards, Indeed.com, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter, whatever, on the company's website, they always have a job description. If you're in that field, if I looked at a job description for electrical, I wouldn't, child, I'll just be looking at it. I don't know what I'm looking at. I see what it says it wants them to do. But if I were to look at a job for finance or look at a job for, any other field that I've been in, I wouldn't know which words to look out for. There's always going to be a lot of nouns and noun phrases that identify what that job wants you to have. We call those keywords, and only a person that's in that industry would know what those keywords are, right? So that job advertisement is going to give you your first indication of what they want to see on your resume. It is your responsibility to then match those keywords in that advertisement to your resume. So basically, every time you apply for a job, you should be ensuring that when you look at that job advertisement, if there's any keyword in that job advertisement that you have experience on, whether it's through education or through experience, it's on your resume. But what if I already have a resume? Well, okay, let me go ahead and be the one to break the bad news to you. The resume that you have right now is just what we call your core resume. It's your starting point. Your resume has to be revised and edited each time you apply for a job to make sure that you have not omitted any keywords that you have exposure through experience or education and they're not on your resume. Why is that important? My friends, if a company has told you this is what we're looking for in a person and you don't have it on your resume, what do you think is going to happen? You think they're going to be, oh, but this person has all this other experience and they have all these other degrees and none of what you have on your resume matches what they're looking for. You're not even going to make the cut, and you're going to understand why here in a second. But let's take a second. Where are my welders? Give me a thumbs up if you're a welder. Let's take a second to look at this job description. This is a job description of a welder. Any welders in the building? Okay, y'all, we're going to need you. We need you. All right. Now, I've done my best to highlight some words. If I am a welder and I'm looking at this job description and it says to me that the essential duties, now, if you're not a welder, most of this will probably just be gibberish to the rest of us, right? But if I'm a welder and I'm reading this job description and it says that I need to be able to read and interpret blueprints and schematics. If I'm a welder, I'm highlighting what I consider important tasks, right? These are these keywords, right? To determine whether specific welding requirements for a project. They also want you to be able to set up and maintain equipment, including what? Torches, tips, filler rods. They want you to be able to select the best process for welding, such as MIG, TIG, or stick welding. They want you to be able to operate both manual and semi-automatic equipment, inspect completed welds. Y'all see what I'm doing, welders? Give me a thumbs up if that makes sense what these keywords are. Maintaining a clean and organized workspace, performing routine maintenance. Now, have we noticed both skill sets here, both hard and soft skills? Give me a thumbs up if you can identify or you can see that they're both mentioned. One welder, somebody come off in the welding field, come off and tell me, give me a hard skill. Somebody give me a hard skill. Or even if you're not a welder, if you feel like you know what it is. What's one hard skill? Can somebody tell us?
Operating the equipment.
You need to be able to operate the equipment. Any other one? Hard skill. I'm a welder.
Being able to select the correct process.
I was about to say, because I know the rest of us wouldn't be able to do that. I was hoping the
Yeah.
welder would say that. Don't ask me to do it. So if because we will all be in trouble, right? So being able to select the appropriate torches and tips and all that, I'm assuming a welder should know how to do that. Can anybody identify a soft skill? And it may not even be highlighted. Can anybody identify a soft skill here? Anybody see a soft skill?
Maybe like customer service or like communicating with them.
Yeah, but is it in the job description? Can you see it? Can you see a soft skill in the job description? It may or may not be highlighted.
Working with team members.
That's exactly right, right? Working with team members. That's a soft skill. But what are they also telling you? What will you be working on?
Projects.
Right there. You're going to be working on projects. So that probably means that you're probably going to be working from this project to that project. That is telling you the type of environment you're going to be in. It's so important to read the entire job description. They are telling you what it is they want from you. So just from reading this job description, what is it that you need to do? If I'm a welder, I know if I have any of this skill set, it needs to be on my resume. So how am I going to put that on my resume, Miss Taylor? Well, I'm going to show you the different areas you can put any of those, what we call keywords. Some people call them trigger words on your resume. Here's why it's important. My friends, we are in a technology-driven economy, really globally. It's technology-driven, right? We're no longer riding in horse and buggies. We are in cars, and pretty soon they say we're going to be in spaceships. We are in the era of technology. It's not going away. Most companies use what's called automatic tracking software systems to look at your resume. Y'all know they're trying to cut back on people. They've been doing it for years. They don't have 5 human resource people going through all these resumes. Thanks to Indeed.com, companies get hundreds and hundreds of resumes from people. They don't have time to go through them. So what are they going to do? They're going to buy what's called an automatic tracking system software package. They're going to program it to look for certain keywords. And what do you think is going to happen? You are going to turn in your resume. It's going to go through an automatic tracking system. And if your resume does not have the specified number of keywords on it, you're going to get that email. We all got that email, right? Oh, thank you so much for applying. You seem like a great candidate. And you're like, really, man? Is that how you do me? And you may be upset, but maybe you'll feel better to know that that's probably not even a person that's looking at that resume. That is a computer generated response because the computer said that you don't qualify. You never even made it to the round for a human being to see your resume. Now, maybe that should make us feel a little bit better. So being rejected by a computer, I don't know. But you are doing yourself a disservice if you just blindly put out resumes to a whole bunch of companies and then say, man, I don't know why they're not calling me. Give me a thumbs up if we've done that before. My hand is raised. My thumb is up. Give me a thumb. Let's just tell the truth. How many of us were busy? We need that job. It's true. We do it. And we say that we try to play the numbers game. So we just send our resume out to as many people as possible and just hope and pray, by just sheer numbers, somebody calls us back. And we don't really pay attention to all the different words in that job description. And you don't know if that company has programmed its software to say, okay, 70% of that resume needs to match my keywords. Yours had 65%. You got a rejection note. There has been some, articles in the news about companies saying that, oh my goodness, they're starting to recognize the fact that these little systems are turning away qualified candidates. I even think Elon Musk said something about it for his company at Twitter. I refuse to call it X. I think sometimes these older men just watch too much TV. When I saw X, I said, is that supposed to be like X-Men? Man, can we please stop trying to? I think cartoons has messed it up for a lot of people. Maybe it's just me. But Twitter, he missed a lot of opportunities because his system was turning away qualified candidates. And so it does happen. So you want to try to eliminate that bias by making sure that your resume has those keywords on it. So where do you make sure that those keywords are on your resume? There's a lot of different sections. Every resume should have these basic sections on it. Obviously, you need a heading, a summary, especially for those of us that are transitioning into a new position. You need a summary. It's a place where you can put keywords, especially if you don't have experience. So if you know you don't have experience in the field that you're about to go in, make sure your resume has a summary. Talk to career services. If you're doing your resume, you can always go back and edit it, especially before you apply for a job. Make sure you have a summary. I'll tell you what to put in it. A skills section, another place you can put trigger words when you don't have experience. You may have the skill set that you acquired from school. You don't have it from experience, but you do have it from education, right? Obviously, any experience that you have, you're going to put in as many trigger words as possible. Watch this, both hard and soft skills. Miss Taylor, I'm going in to be a welder, but I've only worked at CVS. Okay, so maybe you've never done the torches and tips and whatever else that thing said, but maybe you've worked on teams. So you know what I'm going to highlight in my experience section? I'm going to talk about any team project I had because I'm just trying to fill that resume with as many keywords as possible. You see what I did there? So you can talk up the soft skills in your experience, even if it's not the hard skills, anything to get past that automatic tracking system. Does that make sense? Obviously, your education. Is that making sense, guys? So what does that look like? Well, once you get past your header, and let me just say one thing about this. This is an obvious point. Clearly, you want the person to have your name, your real name, people. Your phone number, your address, your email address, and your geographic location. Do not put your home address on your resume. Times have changed. There are hackers that put up fake jobs and they're trying to steal people's personal identifying information so they can basically clone your information, not you personally. So, the recommendation is for you not to put your address on your resumes anymore. But it is important that you put your geographic location because some companies only want to work with people that are in a specific area. So if it's Central Florida, they want to know that you at least live in the Central Florida area, right? Orlando, wherever. If it's down in, Fort Myers or wherever, you can just put Fort Myers Florida, you don't have to put your address, but that is what you want to put on there. And of course, any social media accounts are also going to be important. Companies really want to kind of get a sense of who you are, and they want to see your LinkedIn accounts, not your Instagram account, unless you have a business one, and we'll be talking about that. But let's get into the summary section. So what goes into the summary section? This is a section that we're going to use for this assignment, for doing your resumes, but we're also going to use it next week. So I want to encourage each of you to have a summary section on your resume. Even if you're working with career services, just tell them, as Taylor said, she would like to see a summary section. It's for the class. Some career services, they may say, oh, well, you don't really need one, like yada, yada. There's no right or wrong way to do it. But I want you to have a summary section because I want you to see how you use your summary section to promote yourself. So your summary section starts with giving employers a quick glance of what your qualifications are. Some people call the summary section a profile section. Some people call it a qualifications section. So if you've looked at a resume, oftentimes there's some summary at the top. It could be titled profile, summary, or qualification. But what does it consist of? It consists of these brief overviews of your qualifications, right? It typically starts with one sentence that we also call your branding sentence or your branding statement, right? So my summary section of my resume, regardless of what type of resume I write, because I have different careers, so I do use different resumes for different careers. So as an aside, you don't put everything on every resume either, right? So I have an education resume where I only put my education stuff. I have a corporate resume that I use when I am applying to do any type of consulting work, where I only put corporate stuff. I don't put my education teaching on my corporate resume. When you write this summary section, my first sentence will start with, if it's my teaching resume, I will say a seasoned business educator with over 20 years of experience teaching business, finance, and IT. That would be my brand statement. It typically is the first statement in each summary or qualification or profile that kind of sums up what your experience is. Now watch this. If I look at a job description and I notice that it wants me to talk about, let's say, AI, I'll switch my summary section, my summary statement up, that first statement, and I may mention, AI in it, or I may mention definitely technology in it, right? So they'll know, because I do have that experience. But if I'm applying for a teaching job and it's for finance, I may switch up the IT and just put finance, right? Does that mean I don't have IT? No. But does that mean they don't really care about that? Yes. They're asking me for my finance experience, so I'll switch it up and just put finance. You see what I'm saying? So my summary statement, really, I'm talking to the employer. So think of it like a form of communication. Your resume is like a call and response. The job posting is a call for a response. So your resume is a response to that call. So you want to talk to the employer through your resume. So that's why your resume needs to reply to that posting and put in it what they're asking for. Does that make sense, guys? You can't just look at it like, okay, here go my resume. You could just figure it out and look through it and see if there's anything that you like. which is what we you all used to do, myself included. I didn't know any better. I thought my resume was just, about me, but no, it is a response to them. So your resume changes each time depending upon who you're responding to. Um, this is a place where you can put some skills that you've acquired in class. So if I'm a welder, you know, what's one of those things if the welders remembered that job description? Show me one thing. Is there any one thing here that you've learned in school? Don't embarrass your instructors. Hopefully there's one thing you've learned. Anything? Nothing. Tell me one thing. We're waiting. Y'all have us holding our breath. We're like, oh my God, their instructors, they teach them anything. Somebody tell us one thing you've learned in your classroom.
Setting up and maintaining the welding equipment.
Okay, whew, thank goodness. Okay, so that's something that we were going to have a conversation with your instructors. All right, so setting up the equipment, right? So that's something that you can mention in that summary section, right? Your ability to set up and maintain equipment, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But in your summary, so once you get past, what I may do if I'm a welder and I don't have that experience, but maybe I have teamwork experience, or maybe I have, this company is in like a construction company, and maybe I have like a customer service experience. I may say a seasoned professional working in collaborative environments. You see what I just did, right? Especially if they said something like being able to collaborate, I'm going to put that as my summary. I've never been a welder before, but I have been a seasoned, team member working in a collaborative environment. So I'll put that as my summary. And then I'll go on to say, a newly transitioned, professional with experience in setting up equipment, blah, 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 and blah, 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 whatever I learned in school. You see? So one or two things that you learned in school, you can say with educate, newly transitioned welder with experience in setting up, equipment, reading blueprints, and operating torches. Because you do have experience in it, you got it from school. Does that make sense? So that's how that summary section identifies some of those keywords. Boom, I got my summary section. Now what's next? Your skills is another place where you can throw in some of those keywords because you have the skill to do it, even if you don't have the experience. Throw in as many keywords as you can in your skills. Now, I say don't overdo this section. If you have tons of experience, you don't even really need the skills section. But if you don't have tons of experience, definitely utilize this section called the skills section. Typically it's bulleted. You may have 1, 2, 3 bullets in this column, 1, 2, 3 bullets in that column, and just list those hard and soft skills. Try to list the hard skills mostly, but because you can always list the soft skills in your experience section, right? So, one or two word phrases that outlines what you've been taught. So whether you're in the VA program, electrical program, HVAC program, list those skills out there because you want them to know, yes, I do have skills doing that. Now, don't put something down there if you're not comfortable doing it. Not that, you have to be perfect doing it because you're in school doing it, but if you don't know that much about it, let's say you slept through that class, put stuff that you're comfortable saying that you know how to do. Now, when it gets to your education section, it is important that you obviously put down the school you graduated from and the year you graduated and the city and state that is from, because back in the day, people started lying about their education. I don't know if y'all are old enough to remember when that guy lied and said he was a doctor. A lot of people have done that and had gotten a job as a doctor, and he wasn't really a doctor. He had just studied medicine on his own and was faking it for a minute. clutching my pearls. Miss Taylor, you mean to tell me people lie about their education? Yes. Let me tell you something. I don't know how you have I couldn't do it. I could not do it. I mean, you got to have I don't know. I would be so afraid somebody would find me out. I don't know how they do it. People do it, right? So now, companies want to see the city and state that you graduated from so they can, if they're not familiar with that school, they can look it up and just at least make sure it's a real school. That's why they want you to do that. So make sure you have the school, the city and state, and the year that you graduated. That obviously will also let them know, oh, okay, this person did go to a technical school, this is where they learned that. And sometimes companies will actually look up on the website to see what you learned in that school, right? Especially if it's an entry level job and they just want to make sure that you have exposure to certain things. When it comes to experience, obviously this is a no-brainer. You're going to put down what you have experience in. But let me tell you guys something. Try your best, even if you worked at CVS, even if you used to be an accountant, try to think of all the soft skills type work that you've done that would be important for that position. I'm not saying overly just write soft skills stuff. Obviously, if you were an accountant, you want to say, you reconcile the books and stuff. But if there's anything that you can talk about, let's say that you had to do reports and this job wants you to do reports. Clearly, you want to mention that because you can mention a lot of different things that you've done on your resume, but it's only 2 pages. So that is why you're using that job advertisement as a guide to tell you what to say in your resume. If you apply for a HVAC position and they want you to be able to write reports, put that on your resume if you've written reports. But then let's say you also apply for another company that wants you to be able to have done project work. If you've not done project work, take out the report stuff and put it in the project stuff and then send them that resume, right? So you're going to change your resume unless you can find, job advertisements that want exactly the same thing. That's when you don't really have to massage your resume that much or make any type of changes. Right? With these positions that you've worked at, once again, because people tell a lie. Don't y'all love people that are devious? They just make it worse for everybody. Because people lie about jobs, like, can you believe? And I didn't even know people did this, but I thank goodness I don't have a deviant mindset. People will just make up companies. Did y'all know that? Am I the only person that didn't know people did that? People make up companies and put it on their resume. Okay, well now yes, I know some of us are like, what? But let me tell you something else. People make up a lot of stuff. I would be too nervous to do it, maybe because I'm a Christian and I just grew up in church. I'm just afraid the Lord gonna come get me. But people do it. So what they do now is they make sure that you put the city and the state and the name of the company so they can verify to see if it is a real company because people do it. So that's why you have to do that, guys, just so you know, in case, some people are like, well, I'm not going to put that. Sometimes some companies will think that you're being dishonest if you don't put it. So just make sure you put it, especially if it's a company that is not well known. And then you go ahead and write a summary on the type of work that you've done at that company. I won't get into how you write your experience because everybody writes it different. Some people write it in paragraph form, some people do bullets. I prefer both. I prefer you write a brief little paragraph about what you did, and then you do a couple of bullets on how well you've done it, especially if you've gotten any recognition or if you were able to maintain high quotas. It's always good for a company to see how well you've done something instead of you just saying, I did this, this, and this, and that, like it's a menu. You give a brief statement about what you did at that company, and then you list one or two accomplishment statements, regarding what you've done. We call those key accomplishments while on the job. And then, that's pretty much it, in terms of what goes in a resume. Some companies are really sticklers about it only being 2 pages nowadays because they don't want to read 4 pages. Sometimes you can't, get away from that, especially like in education. Nobody asks us for just 2 pages because they know, like, get out of here. It's going to be too long. You know, many of us have, been on the job for quite some time. And so our resume, at least 3 pages. But in terms of formatting, chronological resumes is what we used to call it. Sometimes people call it timeline resumes. People want to see, where you work at now, and then you can talk about the jobs that you've had earlier. Some resumes are what we call skills-based resumes. You won't see that too much. You see it a lot in technology, maybe a little bit in trades, where instead of you listing out in the experience section, like company after company after company, you focus more in on your skill set, and then you can just list the companies that you've worked for with that skill set. So instead of you saying ABC company, Orlando, Florida, the position I had, and then experience, you put like if it was me doing IT, I could say, AI engineer. And I put all the different companies that I was an AI engineer for, because AI engineering is pretty much the same everywhere. So you don't have to say ABC company, here's what I did as an AI engineer. 123 company, here's what I did as an AI engineer. Like they kind of know it's AI engineering is AI engineering. So just tell me what you did, and then tell me the different companies you worked for. Again, you don't see that in too many other fields, but because most people still primarily use timeline resumes. All right. Make sure you save your resume in a PDF format. Most of them will say, I want a PDF, because one, they use them to put it through those tracking systems, but two, they want to make sure that your resume doesn't get, deleted by mistake. Sometimes if people download Word documents, and they could be going through your resume, and they can make a mistake and delete something off of it in an error. So they just want to make sure that they don't do that. But primarily it's because they want to put it through those systems, and sometimes those systems require a PDF. We don't really have non-traditional resumes that much anymore. Sometimes people call LinkedIn a non-traditional resume because it is a web-based system that you use, right? Obviously, you want to proofread your resumes, guys. Like, you change your resumes a lot. I'm guilty of sending the wrong resume to the wrong company because I was tired, and y'all know how it is. I'm applying to these jobs, and I sent the wrong cover letter, and I edited one and I forgot to re-edit it. Like, don't be like me, right? So, A, don't apply to jobs if you're tired. And B, make sure that you proofread your resumes, because, that's a surefire way to get you not seen. All right, my friends. Um, Lastly, if they ask you for references, make sure that's separate, and you don't really turn in references until you've gone past the interview process. And then typically they'll ask you for references if they want to move you forward in the process. And, most of us have like this reference document where your name goes at the top, and then however many references they ask you for is there. And similar to you don't really want to put their personal information. You want to keep it to their professional information, unless they tell you. Make sure you talk to your references. So, they may say, hey, don't put my company, or only put my company. So make sure they know that they're a reference, and you know what information they want you to put on your reference sheet. All right. So here is what you will be doing today. And we're actually going to walk through this exercise. So do not run off, because I want you to make sure you do this right. This is one of those exercises, along with your long-term skills, that if it's done wrong, I'm going to send it back to you. So please stick around to see how to do this correctly. This assignment is your opportunity to practice reviewing these job advertisements. In this job assignment, in this assignment, I want you to do some research. I'm going to use Indeed.com as an illustration, but you can use whatever website you want. And we are going to look for job postings. Now, we want to find job postings that are similar, because we want to send our resume as is to at least 3 different companies. So these jobs that we're going to look for, I want them to have at least hard skills that are mentioned in the job posting, similar hard skills and similar soft skills. I don't care about how many, as long as they have at least one or two hard skills, one or two soft skills that they all want for that job. And when you're done, when you find it, your assignment should look like this. It should look like Indeed search veterinary assistant. That's because if I'm a veterinary assistant, and the 3 job links. I want the 3 job links. I'm going to show you how to get it. And then you're going to tell me what they have in common. You're going to say hard skills. These 3 jobs wanted somebody doing that could do animal restraint, that could prepare exam rooms and do patient records. And one soft skill that they all wanted was being an effective communicator. Do we at least understand what I want to see for this job, for this assignment? All right, let me show you how to get it. So what you're going to do, I've teed up, and you can use Google, you can use Microsoft, whatever you want, but since we're on Microsoft, I've teed up Indeed.com using Microsoft. All I've done is I went in, I put veterinary assistant, Orlando, Florida, and I hit search. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go through these job postings to see if I can find similar ones. Now, a hint is if I wanted to find them quicker, I could do like veterinary assistant. I could say at let's say I'm gonna say pet hospital. I don't know if or clinic, right? Something along those lines. So I only get veterinary assistants at some type of clinic, right? That way I can probably get the same type of skills for each job. So I'm going to scroll down, and it always highlights the first one first. And so this one says that this is advanced veterinary care. And I'm going to scroll down to see what they want. I'm going to go to the full job description. Now, we're veterans at looking at these jobs because we are looking for the job requirements. Most job postings always start with information about the company. We can read that. That's cute. Advanced, compensation is cute. Respect, blah, blah, blah. I want to get to the job description. What does it want me to do? I'm going to read it. The purpose of the job, that's good to know. You can read that, but here we are. Duties and responsibilities. It wants me to complete training, and then it wants me to use software tools to update patient information. I'm going to be doing some basic telephone stuff. They want you to have some technology skills. Y'all see that, right? They want me to clean up the cages. They want me to be able to disinfect. Okay. Y'all see it, do laundry. Wait a minute. Is this a pet care? What kind of stuff is it? Go ahead, Marco.
I was just curious. You said this was all due on Sunday for today's work?
Well, the assignment is today's assignment, but all of the work for the week you have up until Sunday to turn it in.
Yeah, I finished the rest of the week already. I have work soon, so I was gonna do this after work.
Yeah, you can do this anytime as long as you do it by 11:59 on Sunday. Make sense? Okay. So you see it, VA guys. I don't know if I like this. Sounds like a lot of cleaning. All right, but basic CPR. There we go. Y'all see all this work, right? So what I'm going to do, I could keep this one, or I can just make a mental note of it. Or what you could do, if you want to go ahead and just keep track of it, you can flag it, or you can go ahead and copy it, and you can copy it like this. So you hit this thing, and right here it says copy link. And when you paste the link on a Word document or in the text box, it's going to look just like that link I showed you that I want to see, right? So this is where you get that link from. You see it? Copy that link. Now, you can also write down a couple of these things, but remember, you're not going to keep this one until you can find two other ones that want something similar, right? So now let me go to this next one here. This is a veterinary surgical technician. I'm going to scroll down to see what they want. Job description, the overview of the company, responsibilities. They want me to assist with the surgical procedures. They want me to handle animals. They want me to do terminology, provide assistance, perform laboratory skills, x-ray tech, do administration records. I don't know if this is exact. This is almost a different job, right? Would y'all agree? Let me try another one. And this is why I say you want to look for ones in a similar environments. Let me look at this veterinary assistant for a family veterinarian. I'm scroll down to, sheesh, what you want me to do already? That was high school diploma, confidence. You see all that soft skill stuff right there, what you bring to the table. Okay, so here it wants you to be a team player. Y'all see all these soft skills? This one's really talking. That's already kind of telling you something about this environment at this company, right? They want you to assist with the medical team with hands-on. They want you to be able to be the backbone of the clinic, whatever that means. I don't know if I like the way this reads. I think you have to dig into it here to see. Yeah, let's go. That one's getting on my nerves. Let's just try here. Send a veto, but that's okay. Full job description. Y'all get my point, right? Y'all get what I'm trying to do. So that means, yeah, you may have to look through a few of these until you can find three that are wanting the similar things, right? What you'll do, assist with the checks, do dentures, you'll work with on a team. That's getting on my nerves. What about Petco? What y'all want? Okay, central job functions. Appointment setting. Sounds like that first one. I like it. Work with the doctor. Sounds like that first one. Handle medication and records. Boom. There's another one that sounds just like that first one. I'll take this one. Y'all see what I'm doing? So don't just take three. Make sure they all want something similar. Why I want you to do this exercise, because we are all guilty of just looking at veterinary assistant, I'm apply, veterinary assistant, I'm apply, veterinary assistant, I'm apply, and we don't look to see that they all want something different. You understand the point of this exercise? Yeah? Yes,
Yes.
Taylor. Y'all know I'm a Southern old lady now. You got to say yes, say something so I know. All right, so you understand. Very good. And this is what I want my assignment to look like when we're done. Thank you very much. If it comes back, come on back. There we go. All right, so when you're done, I want it to look just like this. Any questions on that? No?
Yeah, how do you get the link at one more time, Miss Taylor?
Now y'all see why I always ask, are there any questions before I'm That's all right. That's all right. Vincent. That's my ex-husband name too. So you know I'm gonna tease you hard. Let me go back.
Man.
Vincent.
You can call me
Always
Vince.
those
That's fine.
Vincents.
You can call me Vince. That's fine.
He said, call me something else. Let me go back to Vincent. All right. So right here where it says, you see this thing where I'm circling?
Right.
You click on that, and then that very first one, it says copy link.
Yeah, I had my
Once you
browser
cop-
closed when you explained it.
So once you hit that, and then you go to wherever you want to paste it, you right click and hit paste, and it'll paste, and it'll look like that.
Gotcha.
Mm.
I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Any more questions before I move off of this one? Any more questions, Vincent? No, just
No,
kidding.
ma'am. Thank you.
Just teasing. All right, so let me go back. So I look like this. All right. Now, that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and give you your participation question for today. What the world? What did I just do? All right. Here's what I want to know. Name 3 things you learned about resume writing today. 3 things you learned about resume writing today. That's it.
Wow.
And don't be smart and talking about a header summary and qualifications. I know how some of y'all jokesters are. All right, y'all. We do not have class tomorrow. That means I will see you back here on Monday. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you again on Monday. Okay, bye-bye.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Have a great weekend. See you Monday.
Okay, bye-bye.